The following program is a production of Pioneer Public Television. This program on Pioneer Public Television is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4, 2008. Additional support provided by Mark and Margaret Yackel Julien in honor of Shalom Hill Farm, a nonprofit rural education retreat center in a beautiful prairie setting near Windham in southwestern Minnesota. ShalomHillFarm.org. The Arrowwood Resort and Conference Center, your ideal choice for Minnesota resorts offering luxury townhomes, 18 holes of golf, Darling Reflection Spa, Big Splash Water Park, and much more. Alexandria, Minnesota, a relaxing vacation or great location for an event. Explore alex.com. Easy to get to, hard to leave.
Welcome to Postcards. I'm Dana Johnson. Today we get a taste of the culinary arts by taking a journey through Mr. B's chocolates and learn about the culinology program at Southwest Minnesota State University. But first, we stop by Clontarf, Minnesota to visit Beth's Cakes and see what a local cake artist does to make her wedding cake stand out from the rest.
I've always had an interest in baking ever since I was young. My grandmothers, my great-grandmothers, it's always kind of been a passion in the family. I know for Christmas, my great-grandmother would always just give us a box of baked goods. We wouldn't get presents, we'd get ginger snaps and cinnamon bread. My fondest childhood memory is of my grandma's sugar cookies. Whenever we came to the house, there was a batch of them being made or a batch that was just made, and so I've always kind of had a love for the baked goods, and you kind of have to learn to make them if you want to eat them, so it all started from there. I went to school originally to be a medical laboratory technician, and I've worked for about 7 years now in the hospital doing that. And then I found this passion with baking. Baking is kind of a science. You always have to be exact with your measuring and everything, and I think that my science background has helped me out with that. There's something to me about baking, about the instant gratification. It's taking something out of nothing, and in a matter of an hour, you have something to eat. And that when I made cakes for people, it made them happy. And that's something that I've really wanted to pursue since I was a little girl, was making people happy. So I find that this passion is really driving me right now to make the cakes from scratch and make them pretty and make people happy. I especially love to bake from scratch. I take pride in using the freshest and local ingredients whenever I can. I try and use local farmers' eggs and things like that to always bake fresh and from scratch is my goal. I know that a lot of bakeries, even smaller bakeries nowadays, are going to mixes or baking and freezing cakes, and that's something that I always want to hold as a standard is baking the day of. I know the last wedding that I had, I woke up at 2 a.m. to start baking for it because I wanted it all to be fresh. I just feel happy when I bake. I don't know if I'm channeling the grandmas up there or what, but I just find that baking really makes me happy, and it's a relaxing thing to do. I know not all bakers find it relaxing when you're really busy, but no matter how stressed I am and no matter how many hours I put into it, it's fulfilling for me. After word got out that I was making cakes from scratch and how good they were, it was busy enough that I decided to ask around and rented a caterer's kitchen so that I could legally license and advertise making wedding cakes. I found that in the state of Minnesota, there's a lot of regulations and rules as to if you're baking cakes out of your home, you can only use word-of-mouth advertising. And if I wanted to concentrate on the wedding cakes, it wouldn't be very easy to just do that. So that's what guided me into getting into a licensed kitchen. And thankfully the caterer in town was semi-retired and let me in there, and business took off, and it really gave me the confidence to want to have my own shop. And in a matter of months, here I am, and I'm doing what I love. I approached the city of Clontarf about this building that had been sitting empty for a few years, and here we are. This was originally a diner, arcade, meat locker, grocery store. They had video rentals here. By the time I was a little girl down the street, they just had a diner here. So junior high came and I cooked and waitressed in this building. And so it's all kind of come full circle for me, and it's really interesting to be in here. It took me about 2 months of work to get this building up and going again. There was a lot of scrubbing and cleaning and a lot of removal of old equipment. We did a lot of painting, put new ceilings in, and we're a fully licensed and insured bakery now. I strive to be a wedding cake designer, but I can bake anything to pay the bills. Here at Beth's Cakes, we make wedding cakes, cupcakes, cheesecake, pies, and muffins. I find that the wedding cakes are one of my favorite things to do because it's such an important thing for someone, and I actually feel very entitled that they've come to me for such an important event in their life. And it's an instant art that gets eaten, and I love it. It makes so many people happy, and a wedding cake is a great form of expression for me. Every single one of them seems to be different. Brides come for a tasting and approach with color palettes or pictures of cakes that they've seen, and we start with a sketch and go from there, and it's one of my favorite things to do. It's one of the reasons I opened the shop, was to be able to have a space to offer tastings to brides in the area. It's not something that they would normally get to do unless they drove to the cities or something. A lot of my common cakes have just been like fondant covered cakes with ribbons that match the color scheme, or fresh flowers that match. In the last couple of years, I've really tried to concentrate on making gum paste and fondant flowers, so you have sugar flowers that match your decor that are actually edible. If someone orders a gum paste flower of a certain kind, I go and order a bouquet of them. I pull up a bunch of pictures and I go at it. And I've been striving lately to make the most realistic flowers that I can. And that's really been a goal. Is I love the art of looking at a bouquet and even wondering, is that real? I think that's what's kind of setting my cakes apart in the area, is the sugar flowers, and it's not just an average frosted wedding cake or just an average fondant covered cake. The flowers can really help set it apart. One of the cakes I'm really proud of was my brother's cake, and that was a 3-tiered chocolate fondant covered chocolate cake with some gum paste calla lilies to match their wedding decor. It was kind of a soft pink palette. My brother and his wife entrusted me in making their cake, and I'm so glad I did, because it came together beautifully and it gave me the confidence to push forward with it. I kind of felt like I might as well try with a wedding cake with my brother, because if I dropped it, he would still live with me. The most recent wedding cake I did had some roses on it, and I really took pride in how close to real I got those to look. And it was separated on some pillars, so that's always kind of nerve-wracking if it's going to tip. It amazes me every time that I just pull some ingredients off the shelf and can assemble this 4 or 5 tier wedding cake just from a few pieces or a few ingredients, and it all comes together in the end and it makes everyone happy. I find that in small town Minnesota, it's not always easy to find wedding cakes to make to pay the bills, so I've branched out into some wholesaling, and I'm going to be putting my grandma's sugar cookies on the shelves. It's one of my fondest childhood memories, so it really means a lot to me, and I hope it goes over well. I have a few local stores signed on right now to carry them, and It's just a matter of getting them out there and getting the word, and I think as soon as people eat them, it's really going to take off. I brought some cakes over to Appleton this last fall and entered them in the county fair. That was really fun. It was a good way to know what I was doing was good, and I was a blue ribbon winner, so that pushed me forward. Advice I would give to anyone at home wanting to start baking would be to follow that recipe and measure right. From start to finish, a cake can take anywhere from a couple of hours to a few days, but it all starts with square one, and that's a little bit of flour and sugar. I found that pursuing my passion and opening my own cake shop has really given me a new focus on life, and I hope that maybe my son can come and wash dishes at my bakery someday. And I hope to be retired and still frosting cakes. Being able to do what I love has really made a positive impact on my life, and I look forward to big things in the future.
Now we'll take a walk on the sweeter side of life by tasting the fine European chocolates of Mr. B in Willmar, Minnesota. His one-of-a-kind creations have impressed the community for years, and we'll see just how these beautiful chocolates are made by hand.
Our chocolate shop here is located in Willmar, Minnesota, and our kitchen, we can make almost anything you want. We make a lot of specialty items for weddings and for different events, and it's something you can eat your pride. It's a unique quality of chocolate. I was born a chocoholic. I was president of the World Association of Photographers, and I did a lot of traveling, and I got a chance to go to Holland and Belgium, and I tasted the chocolate there, and I thought that was great, and became friends with the chocolatier, and he said I could come over and learn how to make chocolate.
There's 11 children in the family with Mr. B's, and I'm smack in the middle. There's 5 on each end. And when Dad said that he was thinking about doing the chocolate and making it, we kind of thought, are you sure? He said, yeah, I'm going to go over there and bring it back and learn how to do it.
I worked in the chocolate shop in Belgium, a small chocolatier in Antwerp, Belgium, and that's where I learned most of the chocolates. And then Callebaut Company makes the chocolate bars, and they are also in Brussels, and that's where I went for schooling several times over a period of 5-6 years. And that was where I picked up all the chocolate, and including the recipes. I, of course, was doing photography at the time I was learning chocolate, and my daughter Mary, who is now manager of the chocolate shop here, worked with me all of that time. And we just kind of grew into it and learned what to do and what not to do, and what was good and what was not so good.
He's 82 this year and still working, comes and helps us on holidays, busier times of the year, and keeps up with us just as much as we're doing. He'll work all day, but he's also the creative one. He'll come and give different ideas of what to make, and then we have 3 other girls that help creating the different fillings and decorating on the chocolate.
The owner of the chocolate shop now is my daughter and son-in-law, and she wanted to keep the good chocolate going.
As a matter of fact, the truffle is the reason that I purchased Mr. B's chocolate shop. My wife gets very upset with me when I say, I didn't want to see the truffle go away. I wanted to keep eating those. The Swiss truffle that my father-in-law created or made here out of this chocolate is by far my favorite. I do a lot of quality control on a few selected items. The truffle I have been eating for about 35 years, and that was long before the original Mr. B's opened. Dwight made those chocolates, and we enjoyed them at Christmas time. And then we started seeing them around more often than Christmas time. And then he started selling them. But the truffle is by and large the greatest.
Our equipment is made in Holland and in Belgium, and this we imported so we could use the different kinds of things that they got over there. And the recipes are all from the European area, and it's also a lot of their ingredients. And we have to temper the chocolate every day we use it. We heat it up to a certain temperature, then we bring it down to cool it, then we have to bring it up a little ways to use it so that it stays brittle. If you don't do that, then you can't use it because it will not harden.
It's very artistic, the chocolate is, because you have to be very careful. It's not something you can just throw together. A lot of the chocolate some of it can take 2 to 3 days to make. Artistically, when they go in and make a piece of chocolate, we have to do the decorating. Everything's done by hand. The painting on the molds, when they might have a fish or something else, it all has to be done by hand before they put the chocolate into the mold. We go in and paint it with our fingers or a paintbrush. So any of the detailing, it's one of a kind. We're not going to get things that look alike because everybody that does it differently.
It can be creative. You can do a lot of different things. It's fun to try different flavors and mixing different ingredients in your fillings. One thing about the chocolate from Belgium is it doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. And the fillings that we use do not have a lot of sugar. It's more cream and butter, the good stuff. You can make whatever you want about a chocolate. While I was studying in Belgium, we made a full-size European car out of chocolate. And this was done for a car dealer. There were 2,000 pounds of chocolate in it. And after they were through using it for advertising, they gave it to an orphanage. And the kids ate the chocolate car.
The taste itself is beautiful, and I strive to make sure that the people who work here making our chocolate understand that anything that leaves our shop is going to be beautiful, and people know that they have their hands on a specialty item.
What's unique about the store is the quantity of candies, the different types of candy that we make. A lot of the businesses or the stores that start up now, they might make, say, 10, 12 different kinds of candy, where we make 75 different kinds of candy. Different fillings from fruit creams to caramels, toffee. It's just the quantity that we do. It's such a big variety. And that's the way Belgian chocolate really is. It's a big variety of chocolate. And when we brought it over and decided we were going to do it, we decided that's exactly, we wanted to have that amount of quantity, just like they did. The favorite part of working at Chocolate Store is it's everybody's happy. The employees are happy. It's fun to work here. I think it's part that, and it's fun to find new things that they've created and try and tell people about it. And especially seeing people that come in for the first time that have never been here, it's like, oh, they're just totally amazed, you know, to try the candy, because we always give a sample.
There's not too many people that do not like chocolate, and so it's something that is good for a gift giving. And if you get good chocolate, you don't need to eat a lot of it, because one piece will satisfy you. And as I say, our chocolates do not have a lot of sugar in them. And unfortunately, I became a diabetic, and so I have to be careful how much I eat. I kind of feel like an alcoholic bartender.
Next, we stop by Southwest Minnesota State University, where their unique dessert creation won the RCA Culinology competition.
The culinology program started approximately 6 years ago, but the thought process that led to it began probably a week after I arrived here, although I wasn't going to call it culinology. When I arrived, I came here and I was in the middle of July, and what was around me were cornfields and soybean fields and schwans and those kinds of things, and I began to think, you know, this is an interesting area. What is unique about it? That's unique about it. What can we do on the campus? And at that point, I didn't know that we had once had a very vibrant traditional culinary program and hotel management program here. So as I began to look into that, I said, well, why don't we bring it back and make it our own? The kitchens here, as I've often joked, were real 60s kitchens, sort of Ozzie and Harriet kind of kitchens for home ec courses. That's basically what they were. Avocado appliances. The only thing missing was the orange shag rug. But that's what was here. And I knew that that would not be sufficient to the program. So I began thinking about where could we get the funds to transform it, because I knew it would be expensive. But I didn't want to do anything until we had someone on board who would really take the lead in that. And that was Michael Cheng when we hired Michael. And I gave Michael basically the charge to think about how to redesign this while I would think about trying to raise the funds to get it done. But I think it took about 2 years to get the funding lined up and another year to get the transformation to take place. So we have really moved from home ec kitchens to fairly state-of-the-art, at least for this institution in this area, professional commercial-like kitchens.
Well, I would say that the culinology program that we have at SMSU is the only four-year fully integrated Bachelor of Science in Culinology in the entire world. Our main strength, of course, is how we integrate the both sides, the culinary arts and the food science. And then the success of the program is measured based upon the graduates. And in the past 3 years, we've had some very successful graduates. The Research Chefs Association put together a student culinology competition about 5 years ago. The goal was to see how students could create a gold standard and take it to commercialized version. With that said, we decided that since we had some experience working in product development as part of the class project, I felt confident that we could actually go in there and compete nationally. Since the inception of the student culinology competition, I've always wanted to put a team together. It's just waiting for the right moment and the right teams, students to put into the team. So the opportunity came when we found that we have some really strong students who are very talented. Kaylee Riker is one of them, and I selected her as a team captain and told her to go out and pick her three team members.
As team captain, I was responsible for the communications with the RCA and making sure that the team stayed on task and focused.
And students had to create a gold standard and on-site, as well as a commercialized version, which they were to ship 6 weeks before the competition began. Then judges on-site would compare the students' product, which was prepared fresh, to the commercial standard and see how similar it is. There were some guidelines for the competition, which was peaches and also dessert. So beyond that, students were free to create whatever they want. I pretty much let Kaylee have free reign on that one. They did a whole bunch of brainstorming, they looked at trends, came up with different ideas, made different fresh and gold standards, and then we tried all of them. The one that we were happiest with, that we felt we could replicate and commercialize, ended up being the peach cobbler with buttermilk ice cream.
Our team made a brown sugar pecan peach cobbler with vanilla buttermilk ice cream. The first part is the cobbler bottom, which is peaches. In order to make that, you take a saute pan and put the peaches in with the sugars, the vanilla, the salt, and then heat that until it starts to bubble. Then you add in the cornstarch that's been mixed with water, and then that is heated to a boil, and then the pecans are added. Ashley Moore is the team member who made the cobbler top. She does it by mixing it in a stand mixer. She adds her dry ingredients to the bowl and then places the butter in as well. She mixes it until they're about pea-sized. The butter chunks are pea-sized, and then adds in the liquid ingredients until it just comes together. Steph Grau makes the ice cream. She does this by taking the milk and cream and putting it on the stove and bringing it to almost a boil. The eggs are mixed in another bowl, and then you temper it so that the eggs don't scramble. After it's tempered, you put it back on the stove, add the corn syrup and vanilla, and heat it until it's nappé, or it coats the back of a spoon. And then it's about 170 degrees. After that, you cool it down to about 40 degrees so that you can run it in an ice cream maker. For the finished product, you do the peach cobbler on the bottom and then add the cobbler topping. And then when you go to plate it, you just scoop the cobbler out of the dishes and onto the plate with ice cream. This is our commercial cobbler, and so what it is a two-compartment tray that has a perforation down the center, And so when a restaurant or a company gets it, or like when the ones that we sent to the RCA competition, they'll take it and tear it down the center and then place this half in the microwave and the other half they'll scoop onto the plate after it comes out of the microwave.
So once we got on site and we looked at the competition site and what the other teams were making, we were a little apprehensive. But in the end, it turns out that we had the best product and the closest match between the fresh version and also the commercialized version. We were really surprised. Actually, I thought going into the competition, if we could get one of the top 3 places, I'd be happy. And then we found out that we're not third and we're not second, but we actually were first. That made it feel good. The students were very surprised. I know they put a lot of work and effort into it. And it's certainly it was one of those moments where we go, this is the epitome of culinology. This is what we want the students to be able to do, and they've succeeded in doing it.
That's all for this week. For more information, go to our website. Hope to see you again next time on Postcards.
This program on Pioneer Public Television is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4, 2008. Additional support provided by Mark and Margaret Yekel Julien in honor of Shalom Hill Farm, a nonprofit rural education retreat center in a beautiful prairie setting near Windham in southwestern Minnesota. ShalomHillFarm.org. The Arrowwood Resort and Conference Center, your ideal choice for Minnesota resorts offering luxury townhomes, 18 holes of golf, Darling Reflection Spa, Big Splash Water Park, and much more. Alexandria, Minnesota, a relaxing vacation or great location for an event. Explore alex.com. Easy to get to, hard to leave.